The restaurant was too quiet for something that loud. Not in sound, but in meaning. She didn't shout. She didn't need to. Her words were sharp enough. I deserve better. A pause. I deserve an upgrade. Across the table, Armin sat still. No reaction. No anger. Just silence. Because sometimes, the loudest pain comes quietly. His ex-wife, Nyla, wasn't cruel. Just convinced. Convinced that life owed her more. More comfort. More luxury. More status. And sitting beside her was that more. A man in an expensive suit. Confident. Smiling like he had already won. This isn't personal, Nyla added. But it was. Everything about it was. Armin glanced at the man. Then back at her. I understand, he said. And he did. Because he had seen this coming. Long before tonight. Late nights. Changed tone. Different priorities. It wasn't sudden. Just final. What about our son? Armin asked. His voice. Steady. Grounded. Nyla hesitated. Just for a moment. Then looked away. You're a good father, she said. A pause. He'll be fine with you. The words landed. Heavy. Not responsibility. But distance. Because she had already decided. Her future. Armin nodded slowly. No argument. No begging. Because love shouldn't need convincing. Take care, he said. Simple. Respectful. And just like that. It ended. No scene. No chaos. Just a quiet goodbye. That changed everything. That night, Armin sat in a small apartment. His son asleep beside him. Soft breathing. Peaceful. Unaware. Armin looked around. Plain walls. Simple furniture. Nothing impressive. But everything real. He picked up a small toy. Left near the bed. Held it gently. Because this was his world now. Not loss. Responsibility. Purpose. And far across the city, Nyla stepped into a penthouse. Bright lights. Expensive views. Everything she wanted. Everything she chose. But what she didn't know was that the man she left wasn't behind. He had simply stepped back. Because some men don't show their worth until the world forces it to be seen. Weeks passed. Quietly. No drama. No confrontation. Just distance. Nyla settled into her new life. Luxury. Comfort. Everything she thought she wanted. The man she chose. Rohan. Had influence. Connections. Confidence. He spoke like someone who owned everything. And she believed it. Because belief is easy when things look perfect. Meanwhile, Armin stayed the same. Simple routine. Work. Home. His son. Nothing flashy. Nothing to prove. But behind that quiet life, something else moved. Unseen. Carefully. Because Armin wasn't rebuilding. He was revealing. One morning, an email reached Rohan. Urgent. Board meeting. Mandatory attendance. He frowned. Because he didn't like being called. He preferred calling. But this felt different. Important. So he went. Nyla insisted on joining. Curious. Confident. Because in her mind, this was his world now. They arrived at the headquarters. Massive building. Glass walls. Power and structure. Nyla looked around. Impressed. "This is yours?" she asked softly. Rohan smirked. "Part of it," he replied. But his tone wasn't as firm as usual. Inside, the boardroom was already filled. Executives seated. Serious. Focused. Not casual. Not welcoming. Something was off. Rohan stepped forward, ready to take control. But no one stood. No one greeted him. Instead, their attention shifted to the door behind. It opened. Calmly. Without rush. And someone walked in. Familiar. Unexpected. Armin. Same posture. Same calm expression. But everything else felt different. Because this time, no one looked past him. They stood. One by one. Respect. Automatic. Real. Nyla's breath caught. Because suddenly, nothing made sense. Armin walked to the head of the table. Not asking. Not hesitating. Taking the seat. Like it was always his. Because it was. Rohan frowned. Confused. "Excuse me," he said. "This seat is reserved." Silence followed. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Then the legal advisor spoke. "It is," he said. A pause. For him. The room shifted. Completely. Nyla looked at Armin. Really looked. Trying to understand. Trying to catch up. "What is this?" she whispered. But no one answered her. Because the answer was already unfolding. Armin opened a file. Calm. Measured. "Let's begin," he said. And just like that, the man she left behind became the man she never truly knew. No one questioned him. Because no one needed to. The truth was already clear. Armin flipped the first page. Documents. Ownership. Control. Everything. In his name. Not recently. Not suddenly. Always. Rohan's confidence cracked. "You're joking," he said. But his voice wasn't steady. Armin didn't look at him. Didn't react. Because reactions belong to those trying to prove something. He wasn't. "I built this company 8 years ago," Armin said calmly. A pause. "Then I stepped away from public control." The room listened. Closely. "Silent ownership," he continued. "Strategic observation." Another pause. "Understanding people before trusting them." Every word. Intentional. Measured. Nyla felt the weight of it. Because suddenly, memories changed meaning. His late nights. His silence. His simplicity. None of it was weakness. It was choice. "You said you had nothing," she whispered. Her voice shaken. Armin finally looked at her. Not angry. Not hurt. Just honest. "I said I didn't need anything," he replied. A pause. "You heard something else." Silence filled the room again. But this time, it wasn't confusion. It was realization. Rohan stepped forward. Desperate to recover. "This is a misunderstanding," he said quickly. "I've been leading operations. For me, Armin interrupted. Calm. Precise. The words landed. Heavy. Because truth doesn't argue. It ends arguments. Armin closed the file. Then leaned back slightly. Relaxed. In control. Effective immediately, he said. Leadership structure changes. A pause. Performance will now match position. Rohan's face tightened. Because he understood. This wasn't about revenge. It was about correction. And he was part of that correction. Nyla took a step forward. Uncertain. All this time, she said. Her voice breaking. You let me leave. Armin held her gaze. Yes. No hesitation. No apology. Because love, without respect, isn't worth holding on to. Tears filled her eyes. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just real. I thought you were nothing, she said. A pause. Armin shook his head slightly. I was everything I needed to be, he replied. Another pause. You just couldn't see it. That hurt more than anger. Because it was true. Armin stood up. The meeting. Already decided. Moving forward, he said to the room. We build with clarity. A pause. With integrity. Another pause. And without illusion. He walked past them. Not stopping. Not looking back. Because his chapter. With them. Was already closed. That evening. He sat at home. His son beside him. Laughing at something simple. Something real. Armin smiled. Because this was his wealth. Not the company. Not the power. But the life he chose. And across the city. In a place filled with everything. Nyla stood alone. Finally understanding. That the man she called an upgrade. Was never even close.